inquiry in. So recognizing, of course, what the senior leaders and the difference that makes, both along the lines of resilience and hardiness and otherwise. Just for a minute or two to consider the role of methodology. That development happens in spite of us, sometimes often in spite of us, in spite of our deliberate efforts to promote development. And I'm wondering if what you have noticed in the last 4 years, you mentioned various practices in the book, where you may have noticed particular methodologies that are about taking deliberatively catalyzing individual and collective development, and some notable traction there you might be noticing methodologically.
No, I think I will answer with something very simple, which is simply conversation. Right? I mean, we know from all the research that you can't force development onto anyone. It's this mysterious, in my mind, spiritual process. And the only thing that can happen is that, you can create the right circumstances that can help that mysterious process, right? And the right circumstances is to provide, a safe space where some of these questions can be explored, and the right amount of challenge, to resolve things that are unresolved in your life. And my sense is that the top technology for that is simply having conversations. There's something just incredibly powerful with having a really, really well facilitated conversation of an executive committee, where people talk about all the pain of everything they've been experiencing in the organizations and their longings and their own personal journeys. And these conversations can't be undone. Like, you can try to forget them and hide them, but they're just deep conversations. And so that is just, in my sense, sort of the deepest thing that you can do. And then, of course, not do it as a one-time offsite and then forget about it, but then based on that, do actual changes in the systems and the practices of the organizations. Right? That's where the sort of the 4 quadrants of integral theory come in. I've seen CEOs who are taking their leadership team to really, really rough things up in the mountains, where people really, bump against their edges and their fears and stuff. And if that's really well facilitated, that can be transformative. But so my sense is not so much that it's breakthrough technologies as just being very deliberate and clear with very simple things, which is conversations, and which is sort of the 4 quadrants. So having conversations, but then staying at the level of conversations I've seen in some organization, and just nothing happens. People vent their frustration, vent their hopes, but then there's just no way to, okay, so what concretely, what is the first process that we'll tackle? What's the first unit where we'll try to start changing things? And then that brings up new things. So let's go back to conversations, and then let's go, right? And yeah, that would be my answer to that.
The great mystery of a transforming conversation, that if we can speak differently about power, authority, and accountability, just that way of speaking differently creates a momentum towards practices that are inquiries in themselves.